Everyone went on the trip, except me. That's how the day started, and how it would stay with me for years. They said it was a mix-up, not enough seats, just an accident. But accidents don't always feel like mistakes when you're the only brown kid left standing on the curb. This isn't about a field trip. It's about the quiet moments that tell you you don't belong, even when no one says it out loud. Because the truth is, I wasn't forgotten. I was erased, and I want to tell you how I know. Everyone went on the tour, except me. There weren't enough seats, by accident, they said. But I know how accidents feel. They sting a little less when they happen to everyone, not just to the only brown kid in a class of 30. We were at the curb, backpacks slung over shoulders, buzzing with anticipation for the museum trip we'd been talking about for weeks. Our teacher, Mr. Fallon, read off names like he always did, briskly, unbothered. I waited for mine, hands gripping the straps of my backpack tighter with every name ticked off. He never said it. I stepped forward anyway. "Mr. Fallon," I said, my voice barely audible over the chatter. "I think you missed my name." He squinted at the clipboard like it was the paper's fault. "Oh," he said after a pause. "Well, the buses are full. That's it." No apology. No scrambling to make space. Just a shrug. Like missing the bus was a paper cut, not something that'd bleed a long, quiet line inside me for years. I stood there, watching the last of the kids climb aboard. They didn't look back. Why would they? I wasn't really part of their circle. Not enough sleepovers. Not enough birthday party invites. Not enough sameness. The bus door hissed shut. I caught a glimpse of Tanya, the only other kid who ever talked to me outside of group work. Her smile faded when she saw me still standing there. Then the bus pulled away. I waved. She didn't wave back. Maybe she was confused. Or maybe she didn't want to explain me. Mr. Fallon didn't say much after that. Just told me I could wait in the library until they got back. Said it like he was doing me a favor. The library was cold. I didn't take off my jacket. I sat in one of those plastic chairs that always seemed to wobble, no matter which way you turn them. The librarian glanced up, gave me that tight-lipped smile adults use when they're not sure why you're there but don't want to ask. I said, "Mr. Fallon told me to wait here." She nodded, not unkindly, and went back to her computer. I opened a book I wasn't really reading. Some illustrated history thing with bright colors and big text. I tried to care about the pharaohs and pyramids, but all I could think about was that big yellow bus pulling away without me. Every once in a while, I'd hear a door creak or someone shuffle past. Each sound made me look up, like I was waiting for someone to remember me. No one did. At noon, the librarian brought over a lunch tray. I hadn't asked. "From the cafeteria," she said, placing it gently on the table like I was some patient recovering from something unnamed. It was the usual, a sandwich, a tiny carton of milk, some soggy apple slices. But it felt different eating it alone in a room meant for silence. I chewed slowly, listening to the soft hum of the fluorescent lights. Every bite felt like it had more weight than it should. Not because the food was heavy, but because everything else was. I imagined the others at the museum cafeteria, laughing over pizza slices, swapping chips, probably taking selfies in front of dinosaur bones or something. Someone might notice I wasn't there. Or maybe they wouldn't. When the buses finally rolled back into the lot, I was already outside, sitting on the curb. Mr. Fallon spotted me and gave a quick nod, like we were teammates or something. "Sorry about earlier," he said. "We miscounted the seats. These things happen." He said it the way you'd say, "Oops, forgot the napkins." Like forgetting a kid wasn't that serious. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But I'd seen the sign-up sheet 2 weeks ago. My name was on it, last on the list. I remembered because I had to squeeze it in sideways after everyone else had already picked their slots. There was room. Until there wasn't. He didn't wait for a response. Just walked off to help another kid carry a project bag. They came off the bus buzzing, talking over each other, arms flailing with excitement. "Did you see the giant woolly mammoth?" I got a photo with the astronaut suit. Tanya almost set off the alarm touching the painting. I smiled when Tanya looked at me, but she looked away quickly, like she didn't know whether she was supposed to feel bad or pretend it didn't happen. Someone said, "Too bad you missed it, man. It was epic." I shrugged. "Yeah, sounds cool." Another kid asked, "Where were you anyway?" Before I could answer, Mr. Fallon stepped in with a practiced tone. There was a mix-up with the seating. "We're looking into how it happened." Looking into it. Like it was some big mystery. Like my absence needed an investigation. But everyone already had the answer. It just didn't want to say it out loud. Back in class, someone made a joke. Not mean, just casual. Guess you got the day off, huh? One of the boys laughed. Lucky. A few kids chuckled. I didn't. It wasn't the kind of joke that gets you sent to the principal. It was the kind that sticks to your skin in a way you can't scrub off. The kind that tells you, this isn't your place to be angry. This isn't your moment to make it about you. I gave a weak smile. It was easier than explaining. But inside, I kept hearing that word. Lucky. Lucky would have been sitting with them on the bus. Lucky would have been not invisible in the first place. The next day, there was a note on my desk. Folded small, slipped under my textbook. Sorry about the trip. That sucked. No name, just the shaky print of someone trying to be anonymous. I knew it was Tanya. The handwriting looked like hers from the last group project. It didn't fix anything, but it was something, a thread in the silence. I wanted to say thank you, but I wasn't sure if that would make things better or just more awkward. I kept the note folded in my pocket all day. Touched it once in math class, like it might remind me I wasn't crazy, that it had happened, that someone else saw it too. It wasn't the first time something like this happened. In second grade, they forgot to include me in the group photo. In fourth, I got a disciplinary warning for running in the hall, while 3 white boys raced each other and got high fives. In sixth, the substitute teacher asked if I was in the right class. Twice. It's not always loud. It doesn't come with slurs or fists. Sometimes it's just subtraction. 1 seat, 1 name, 1 glance. A kind of soft erasure that builds up until you start questioning if you're even real to the people around you. Everyone calls it a coincidence, a mix-up, a misunderstanding, but it always seems to happen to the same kind of kid. My mom called the school the next evening. I didn't ask her to, she just knew. She listened while the assistant principal talked about oversight and we'll review our sign-up procedures. I sat at the kitchen table, pretending to do homework, listening to her nod through the phone. She hung up and sat down beside me, quiet for a moment. Then she said, you know, sometimes people don't realize they're erasing you. Doesn't mean you have to let them. I didn't say anything, but I nodded. She didn't push. Just sat there, one hand resting on the table near mine. Not touching, but close enough that I could feel it if I needed to. That night, I stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of how something so small could feel so big. It was just a field trip, just a seat on a bus. But it wasn't, not really. It was a reminder, a whisper I'd heard before. You're not quite one of us. Not unwelcome, but not fully included, either. It's like standing outside a circle you were promised you were part of, only to realize the chalk line was never meant to hold your name. I kept going over it in my head, wondering if I'd made too much of it. Maybe they really did just forget. Maybe it was just bad luck. But the thing about accidents is that they stop feeling accidental when they all point in the same direction. On Monday, everything was back to normal, at least for them. No announcements, no acknowledgement, just the usual morning chatter about homework and cafeteria pizza. Mr. Fallon handed out worksheets like the week before hadn't even happened. I went through the motions, wrote my name on the top of the page, answered the questions, laughed when I was supposed to. No one mentioned the trip again. But I noticed things a little differently now. Like how group projects formed without me unless a teacher stepped in. How hands shot up to read aloud, and mine never seemed to be called. How being quiet made me invisible, and speaking up made me disruptive. Normal didn't feel neutral anymore. It felt like something I had to survive. A week later, I watched another kid almost miss the bus. White, popular, loud. He showed up late, sneakers untied, chugging the rest of a Gatorade. They made room for him. Kids shifted. Teachers waited. Someone even gave up their seat. No clipboard, no roll call, just trust that he belonged, even when he didn't follow the rules. I wasn't mad at him. I was just tired. Tired of measuring my worth in seats and lists and second glances. Because it was never just about the bus. It was about the stories we tell ourselves about who fits and who doesn't, and who gets the benefit of the doubt when the numbers don't add up. I didn't bring it up again, not to Mr. Fallon, not to Tanya, not even to my mom. It didn't seem like it would change anything, but I carried it with me like a pebble in my shoe. Not sharp enough to make me stop walking. Just there. Always there. I started double-checking lists. Showing up early. Keeping proof. Not because I didn't trust the system, but because I did. I trusted it to forgive me again if I wasn't careful. And somehow, I decided I wouldn't give them that chance. I'd make my presence undeniable. Loud if I had to be. But mostly steady. Sharp. Watching. Because even if they didn't see me, I'd see them. Years later, I barely remember the museum they visited. I can't tell you what exhibit they saw or what facts they brought back. But I remember the seat that wasn't there, the look on Mr. Fallon's face, the sound of the bus pulling away. That's the thing about these moments. They don't scar, they settle. They become part of how you move through the world. Quiet reminders of where you stand, of how easily you can be left behind, even when you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And sometimes I wonder, if I hadn't said anything, would they have noticed at all? That's what stays with me. Not the absence, the silence around it.